Let's talk more about this. And joining us is Mike Sexton. Mike is a senior policy advisor for Cyber and AI Third Way. Mike, good to see you.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, I want to pick up on that last point, shares soaring for some nuclear-related companies. So taking a look at where things are investors making the right choice? Did they jump the gun after hearing these big deals between nuclear companies and big tech, or is there still money to be made out there?
Well, I think that's up to the investors to decide, but my personal view is that this is a very good time for nuclear energy. My think tank I work for, Third Way, has been a champion of nuclear energy for a long time. I think this is a form of energy that has intimidated Americans because it's new, it's a little scary, you associate it with nuclear weapons, but it's very clearly demonstrated that this is a form of clean and reliable energy, and the risk of harm from it, while it is real, it is less than it is for coal and other forms of fossil fuels, before you even factor in the impact on climate change.
Okay, let's also talk about what these, as I understand it, what these new facilities could be, because it wouldn't be like the kind of massive facility so many people around the world are used to talking about.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's correct. What the technology companies today are looking into are called small modular reactors, or SMR for short. So these would be smaller reactors that would be co-located with data centers. Would probably not look like, what we assume from a 3-mile island. But these would be smaller facilities and being built alongside data centers, so that way these do not need to put added stress on the electric grid, impacting other users. But those data centers would still be able to provide those diffuse benefits to the rest of the country and the world.
Gotcha. Okay, now AI, of course, at the center of all this. It just needs a lot of energy to do its job. So does more AI mean more energy sources will be in demand, and nuclear energy alone isn't going to be enough?
Mm-hmm. I think that it is safe to say that the energy demand from artificial intelligence is going to continue increasing as AI use increases, although I should note that there have been very significant improvements in the efficiency of these AI algorithms, as well as the hardware that is running them. However, I think there is a very good chance that nuclear energy is the missing piece that is needed to power this. When you consider not only nuclear fission, which is the nuclear energy that we are used to, but also nuclear fusion, which does not even require uranium.
Right. Oh, interesting.
These are extremely powerful. Yeah, that's correct. So by fusing hydrogen atoms together, releases an enormous amount of energy. It's very, very difficult, but there are several companies that are in this space right now, and this has incredible promise for providing the energy needs that we expect, not just from AI, but from the rest of our needs.
Yeah, let's talk a bit about that. What other kind of needs are out there, do you think?
I mean, well, our real hope, I mean, if we want to combat climate change, is to really have a fully renewable energy sources. So getting rid of coal, getting rid of reducing natural gas and oil,
right.
And hopefully relying on these other sources that do not contribute carbon dioxide. And so that is, again, not just going to be AI, which is, I mean, about like 2%, 2-3% of energy usage worldwide right now. I mean, you're going to have to, we want cars to be electric.
Sure.
We want your house to be warmed with electricity. And we want that electricity to be clean. So that is really the promise of nuclear.
Okay, so let's talk about your think tank. Do you see a changing landscape for the U.S. job market? Are there going to be opportunities out there, not just construction, but people to operate these?
Certainly, yeah. It's going to be a new area of specialization that is needed. We're going to require a lot of training to support the jobs for these new reactors. And then, of course, by powering that artificial intelligence, that is going to create entire new economies, entirely new jobs, new fields of entrepreneurship. I mean, just imagine if I were talking to you in the year 2000 and told you about something called social media that was going to revolutionize the world. How many people make their livelihoods off social media today? We are really at the cusp of an entirely new age of technological innovation, and nuclear is going to be an enormous part of it.
Oh, interesting. Okay, you talked about it earlier, but I want to dig a little bit deeper. The impact that nuclear energy can have on the environment is, of course, a major reason politically as to why the U.S. has shied away from producing more. People remember 3 Mile Island. What was that, 1970s or something like that? So does more AI really mean more nuclear energy and more hazards for the environment? Explain why, or follow up your statement that you made earlier, that it actually is less threatening than burning fossil fuels.
Yeah, so statistically, I don't have the statistics in front of me, but you can look at this in terms of the risk, the hazardous risk to employees, the risk of pollution in the nearby environment. Again, before you get to the factor of climate change, which I think is absolutely salient if we want to continue living on this planet, you know, the nuclear energy is much, much safer than, I mean, imagine if I were telling you today that there's a great energy called coal, and you just need to have a whole lot of coal miners underground breathing in that air. Nuclear energy has many more advantages. Again, I don't want to pretend that there is no risk.
Absolutely.
But statistically, that risk is manageable, and it is less than the energy sources that we are used to. But just because we're used to them doesn't really mean that they're safe.
You know, and also other countries are embracing this a lot more than the United States. Are we going to see this kind of take off in other nations as well?
Yeah, well, that is a really good question, and you know, it's going to be an interesting geopolitical question, right? As we consider countries in the Gulf, like Saudi Arabia, that are interested in nuclear energy, as the U.S. government considers, should we facilitate this, or could this contribute to nuclear armament? So that's a geopolitical consideration. But I think if you just look at the prevalence of nuclear energy in many economies around the world, again, it's not extremely prevalent,
right.
But this is not a brand new technology. This is something many countries have been using for a long time. And I think they're going to really realize, especially as these you know, climate commitments begin coming up, and as we get closer and closer to that 2% or that 2 degrees Celsius threshold, that you're going to see countries are just going to realize that this is what you have to do if you want to protect the environment.